Has this happened to you? You sat down to do a watercolor painting and put a lot of water on it, lots of paint, and all of a sudden your paper is buckling and warping. It's so annoying. When we're first starting out, we don't really know what supplies to buy. I think most of us probably purchased really cheap watercolor paper when we were first starting, and the result was less than satisfactory. Cheaper paper simply can't handle a lot of water and paint. It just warps, it buckles, it doesn't lift so easily, it can tear up. Even good quality paper can still warp and buckle. I think most of us have experienced this at some point. We sat down to do a painting, we put nice tape around the edges, we started painting, and then all of a sudden we're getting these valleys and peaks in the paper. The paint is all puddling towards the middle, and the painting somehow manages to wriggle out from underneath that tape. This can also make the finished artwork rather difficult to frame. So I have some exciting news. This video is sponsored by Legion Papers. Thank you, Legion, for sponsoring this video. They are launching a brand new line of watercolor paper panels, and I am so excited about this product. They're called the Stonehenge Aqua panels. So they sent me a sampling of some of the panels to try out today, and I get to unbox them. Here's the box. It's like Christmas time. Panels are one of my favorite things to paint on. They are such a dream. They never warp, they never buckle, they're so easy to frame. So thank you, Legion Papers, for sponsoring this video and sending me some panels to try. I cannot wait to unbox this. Ooh. Oh my goodness, they sent me a t-shirt. That's cool. Okay, let me throw this on real quick. All right, now that we're officially representing Legion, here we go. Let's check these out. Okay, so here we have, it's called the Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press aluminum panel. And check it out, you can see it's all aluminum on the back, super sturdy. One of my favorite sizes, 5x7. This is one of the best sizes to go plein air paint with. It's small, you can just stick it in a purse, and obviously super sturdy with this panel. Oh, check out this artwork. This is awesome. It says, meet the strongest art papers in the history of art. I am all about strong. Very cool. All right, let's see what we've got here. Oh, nice, those are lovely. Again, pre-mounted on aluminum. And it says you can use it for watercolor, gouache, or acrylic, so multi-medium as well. And if you've ever tried Stonehenge paper, it is 100% cotton. It's very high quality. So they've just taken it to the next level by attaching it to panels for us. And for sure, this is something I would never be able to make on my own. All right, and then we have another larger size 8x10 Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press panel. Isn't that beautiful? I cannot wait to try these. Let me share just a few of the fun features of these watercolor panels. They have a modern brushed aluminum back. They're 1/8 of an inch thick, so really, really sturdy. Ultra rigid, durable, acid-free, and archival. They're so lightweight. Portable, they have rounded corners, which means they're not gonna catch on things in your bag and potentially tear or crack. They're ready to frame, and they lie flat with absolutely no warping when you wet the surface. Now, there are only a couple other companies that I know of that do these ACM-backed panels for watercolor artists. There's Raymar and Artifacts, but Stonehenge's price point is so much more affordable. Artifacts and Raymar's panels cost almost twice as much as Stonehenge's, so it's amazing to finally have a really nice aluminum-backed watercolor panel on the market for a really reasonable price. The 5x7 is only $4.51, a 6x6 panel is $4.79, and an 8x10 is just $9.59. So these will be amazing if you want an affordable but high quality surface for your commission pieces or your plein air paintings. So I'm definitely gonna need to take one of these out plein air painting with me. There's a snowstorm coming, so I'm not sure when I can do that, but maybe today. The weather's nice today. Let's get out there. All right, so I'm about to get out of my car. I'm at this beautiful scenic overlook. It's off of Highway 36 on the way to Boulder. It's absolutely stunning. One of the best views looking at the Front Range, in my opinion. So it's almost 60 degrees out today, which is pretty good for March in Boulder. And we're expecting like a foot of snow in the next couple days, so I'm trying to take advantage of the good weather. So I'm going to try out one of these new Legion panels on a plein air painting, and I'm so excited to try it. I've got a gorgeous view of Long's Peak right now. It's just so beautiful out, so let's get out there and make a painting. I always bring some paper towel or a rag with me, and I just had a small bag full of my favorite plein air items here. Just a little zipper bag with some tape, some pans of paint, and some clips for securing my panel to my easel. I also store my brushes and water canisters in here. I chose the 5x7 inch size Stonehenge panel to take with me for this excursion, since it's just a really great size for plein air painting. You can either do vertical or horizontal depending on your subject matter. And I was pretty set on painting Long's Peak out there. That's the 14er located in
Rocky Mountain National Park, an absolutely epic mountain. My easel is my Taylor C mount bamboo easel. It's super lightweight. I just use a cheap Amazon tripod with that. And I decided to go with my Rembrandt portrait set, oddly enough, for the colors today. I really like this selection of colors. It's really perfect for more than just portraits. My little metal water jar has a clip, making it very easy to secure to my pan paints. A spray bottle is really handy to have with you. You can use it both for your clean water for rinsing and to spray and activate your paints. I set up on a really nice bench here just off the highway. Other than the traffic noise, it was a really beautiful, pleasant place to paint. There's also a bike trail here, and it wasn't actually too windy. It was really pleasant out. I even got a little bit hot in my jacket. I always start my plein air paintings with a sketch, so if you do decide to plein air paint, make sure you bring a pencil with you. I wanted to see how the panel could handle some sketching and erasing, and of course it did great. All I drew on in my initial sketch was the outline of the mountains and the foothills in front of the big mountains. Everything else I thought I would just do with paint. I'll show you a picture here of what I was seeing. You can see the foothills there. It kind of made an even shape, and I thought it was just a little too symmetrical with those mountains creating these bumps in front of Long's Peak, so I changed the shape just a little bit. Just keep in mind, you can do that when you're the artist. This is one of my favorite new brushes. It's a DaVinci Colineo size 10 round travel brush, and I love using a larger size for just blocking in the skies, especially in any areas that need more paint and more water. I started with a little bit of yellow ochre. I can see kind of a warm cast in the clouds behind the mountains, and a little bit of my alizarin crimson and some cerulean. Even if you're not seeing really vibrant colors in the scene in front of you, you can play those colors up and make them as dramatic or as muted as you want, whatever your preference is as the artist. I started with some cerulean in the sky, leaving some hard edges so that you could see some crisp clouds up there. And then I applied some of my yellow ochre here at the bottom towards the mountain. I decided against the wet and wet technique because I had bright sunlight right on my panel, and sometimes when I try to do wet and wet for the sky, if I have sunlight on the panel, it just dries so fast and I get frustrated with the results. So for this wash, I decided to just do wet and dry and let the paint kind of run down and just see what happened. I got some fun blooms in the clouds and some interesting hard edges as well. So a little bit different from how I usually approach clouds, but I actually ended up really liking how it dried. I switched to a silver black velvet size 4 travel round brush for the mountains. I wanted to slow down here and actually paint some small details in the mountains themselves. You can see they're covered in snow, but there are some areas where the gray rock is exposed. So that was what I was carefully painting here with my smaller brush. I adjusted the color temperature between warms and cools using cerulean, a little bit of my PV19 violet there, and some burnt sienna to go back and forth between those shifting color temperatures. It was a little tricky to make the mountains stand out against the sky. In fact, I don't think I really achieved that. But at the same time, the level of detail in the mountains versus the blobby sky does kind of help it stand out a little bit. I also knew I'd have to go way darker in the foreground here, so I mixed up some large puddles of much darker color. I used a combination of ultramarine, a little bit of purple, some burnt sienna, and I tried to do basically a flat wash with multiple colors, trying to allow a bead of wet paint dripping at the bottom so that no hard edges would form in the process of putting down this color. Easier said than done, especially if you have to mix up lots of dark color using these small pans. I can see why a lot of plein air watercolor painters like to use larger palettes with larger mixing space. When you want to get a really broad wash, it can be really tricky to get enough paint mixed up just from these small pan paints. But for the 5x7 inch size I had here, it worked okay. You can see the panel handled everything so well. I thoroughly enjoyed working on this surface. It was just like working on cotton watercolor paper, except stiff and no warping and no bending. And I didn't have to worry about it blowing away on a breezy day. So here's the finished painting. I was actually really happy with it for a 20-minute painting. I think it turned out pretty well. And you can see just how beautifully sturdy this surface is. I'm so excited that I have 2 more of these I get to play with, and I can't wait to make some more paintings on these beautiful Stonehenge panels.